Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. This time we're taking a look at trauma and its impact, and we're going to be referencing The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk.
Right.
And just going through this material,
Yeah.
it's been a real eye-opener for me.
I can imagine.
It's not just about bad memories or anything. It's
Right.
about how those experiences really leave like a lasting mark on us,
Absolutely.
often in ways we don't realize.
Yeah, and that's what van der Kolk is getting at,
Okay.
that trauma leaves these invisible fingerprints
Yeah.
on our minds,
Uh-huh.
our bodies, even our relationships.
It's not just something you get over.
No, not at all.
So one of the things that really stood out to me
Yeah.
is this idea that trauma can create like a success facade.
Yeah.
So you might see someone who's achieved all the outward markers of success.
Right.
You know, good career, family, all that.
Uh-huh.
But internally, they're still really struggling.
And that struggle is rooted in the science.
Yeah.
Van der Kolk dives deep into how traumatic events actually rewire our brains and our nervous systems.
Wow.
So we're not just talking feelings here.
Yeah,
There are real physical changes happening
Yeah.
that shape how we react to the world even years later.
There was the CDC study that he cited
Yeah.
that really just hit me hard.
Yeah.
Did you know that 1 in 5 Americans experienced sexual molestation as a child?
It's a staggering statistic.
And a quarter of us grew up with alcoholic relatives.
Yeah,
These numbers are way higher than most people realize.
they are, and it makes you realize just how pervasive trauma is.
Yeah.
Even within families that seem normal from the outside.
Yeah, it really challenges the idea that trauma is something that happens out there to other people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's often much closer to home than we'd like to think.
And one of the things I really appreciated about this book is
Yeah.
it's not just throwing science at you.
Right.
It actually shares these really powerful stories
It does.
of individuals navigating the complexities of trauma.
Those stories are essential.
Yeah.
Because they help us understand the very real human cost of trauma,
Yeah.
the struggles people face every day.
So one story that really stood out to me was
Yeah.
about a Vietnam War veteran named Tom.
Okay.
And he had this really picture-perfect life on paper, law degree, beautiful family.
The whole 9 yards.
But underneath it all, he felt completely numb.
It's like he was living this double life.
Yeah.
Successful on the outside, but totally disconnected from his emotions on the inside.
He described it as feeling like he was living behind a glass wall,
Wow.
unable to really genuinely connect with anyone, even his wife.
This lack of emotional connection
Yeah.
is a common after effect of trauma.
Okay.
It's as if the brain tries to protect itself
Uh-huh.
by shutting down feelings to avoid being overwhelmed.
Right.
But that comes at a price.
Yeah.
A profound sense of isolation.
And it really highlights how trauma goes. Beyond just our feelings, it
Yeah.
literally affects our brains.
Absolutely.
So the book talks about how trauma disrupts
Right.
the brain's normal functioning,
It does.
impacting areas responsible for things like speech and memory. And this is where we see that speechless horror phenomenon.
You've ever heard that?
I haven't.
So imagine for a moment you're looking at an ink blot,
Okay.
but instead of seeing shapes,
Yeah.
you're suddenly transported back to a traumatic event.
Oh, wow.
You're reliving it in vivid detail,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't speak.
Oh, wow.
You can't explain what you're experiencing.
That's terrifying.
That's what happens with speechless horror.
Wow.
Brain scans of trauma survivors show
Yeah.
that Broca's area,
Mhm.
the part of the brain responsible for speech,
Right.
can actually go offline
Oh.
during these flashbacks.
That's chilling.
It shows just how deep the impact of trauma runs.
Yeah. We're not just talking about an emotional response here.
Right.
It literally alters how our brains work.
It does. And this leads to another crucial point,
Okay.
the importance of early childhood experiences.
Uh-huh.
These experiences, especially those early relationships,
Mm-hmm.
shape our ability to regulate emotions
Okay.
and form secure attachments throughout life.
Van der Kolk uses this example that I found so powerful.
Yeah.
He describes a mother and baby playing even a brief interruption in their interaction. Like the mother looking away for a moment
Right.
creates distress for both of them.
It really does. It shows how sensitive we are
Wow.
to those early connections.
So those early interactions
Yes,
are really creating the foundation for emotional stability
they are.
and resilience. right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When those interactions are disrupted,
Yeah.
whether it's due to neglect, abuse, or something else,
Right.
the impacts can can be significant.
And we see this in the heartbreaking story of Sherry, who experienced both physical and emotional abuse, compounded by her mother's rejection.
Yeah. Sherry's experience demonstrates that chronic neglect can be just as damaging as physical abuse.
It makes you think how many people are walking around carrying these unseen wounds from childhood.
It's like there's this whole other level to understanding people's behavior and struggles.
So this is where I think it gets really interesting, because we start looking at treatment approaches that go beyond traditional talk therapy.
Right. If trauma is held not just in the mind, but in the body, how do we address that?
So Van der Kolk explores all sorts of alternative therapies, things like EMDR, somatic experiencing, things I'd honestly never even heard of before.
This whole new world.
What struck me is that these therapies recognize that trauma is not just a psychological issue. It's embodied.
It is.
It's in our cells, in our nervous system.
Exactly. And if the trauma is embodied, then healing needs to involve the body too.
So there's this incredible story about a woman named Maggie who was undergoing EMDR therapy. And she was able to recall her childhood abuse in vivid detail.
Wow.
But this time she felt grounded, safe.
That's a key element of EMDR.
Yeah.
It allows people to reprocess the traumatic memory in a safe and controlled environment.
It was like she was finally able to re-experience the memory without being completely overwhelmed by it.
And that can lead to incredible breakthroughs.
Yeah.
And a sense of liberation from the past.
Like she was reclaiming her story.
It's not about erasing the memory, but changing how it feels in the body.
It's like taking the power back.
That's the power of these alternative approaches.
Yeah.
They offer new ways to work with the trauma that's held within us to help people reclaim their lives and move forward.
This is already so much to take in, and we've only just scratched the surface.
We've got a lot more to unpack.
I know.
Including the role of creativity in healing and the power of community.
We'll save that for part 2.
I'm looking forward to it.
Of our deep dive into The Body Keeps the Score.
Me too. It's a fascinating exploration of the human capacity for resilience.
Yeah, and the many paths to healing.
Absolutely.
Welcome back to our deep dive into The Body Keeps the Score.
Yeah.
We're exploring how trauma can literally leave its mark on us, not just, mentally and emotionally, but physically too.
Right.
It's a pretty heavy topic.
It is.
But I'm already feeling like I'm gaining a whole new understanding of myself and the people around me.
It's like we're getting this glimpse behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Seeing these invisible forces that shape how we experience the world.
One thing that's been swirling around in my head is this idea that healing from trauma isn't just about, professional help. It's also about those everyday moments of connection.
Right.
Those seemingly small acts of kindness.
It really is.
That can make such a difference.
Think about it like a warm embrace, a genuine laugh shared with a friend, or simply feeling seen and heard by someone who cares.
Right.
These seemingly small things can actually have a profound impact on our nervous system.
Wow.
Helping to regulate our emotions and build that sense of safety and belonging that's so essential for healing.
And it makes me think about how trauma can show up in our lives in so many different ways.
It does.
It's not always as, clear-cut as PTSD or flashbacks. Sometimes it's hidden beneath the surface, manifesting as anxiety, depression, even chronic pain.
And that's where a trauma-informed approach becomes so important.
Yeah, what is that?
It's about recognizing that these seemingly separate issues might actually be interconnected, stemming from experiences that haven't been fully processed.
So instead of just putting on a Band-Aid, we're actually addressing the wound itself.
Exactly.
This brings us back to those alternative therapies we were talking about before.
Like EMDR.
EMDR, yeah. I was really intrigued by that.
Yeah, what intrigued you about it?
It just seems almost too simple. But the book provides some pretty compelling evidence for its effectiveness.
So what's fascinating about EMDR is that it doesn't require you to delve into every detail of the traumatic memory.
Right.
Instead, it focuses on guiding you through a series of eye movements or other types of bilateral stimulation while you focus on the distressing aspects of that experience.
It's like helping your brain process the trauma in a new way.
Van der Kolk describes it as unlocking the nervous system, allowing for more natural processing to occur.
It's almost like rebooting a computer that's been glitching.
A great analogy.
And we saw how powerful that can be with Maggie's story.
Right.
You know, she was finally able to recall the abuse without being completely overwhelmed by it.
It's not that the memory disappeared,
right,
but it lost its grip on her.
Like integrating the experience into her story without letting it define her present.
Exactly, and that seems to be a key goal of trauma therapy, right?
Yeah.
Helping individuals reclaim their stories and live more fully in the present moment.
Another therapy that stood out to me was somatic experiencing.
Oh, tell me about that.
It focuses on helping people regain a sense of control over their physical sensations, reactions.
Right, and this makes so much sense when you think about how trauma is literally held in the body.
Right.
Imagine your body as a vessel that's been through a storm. It's carrying the imprint of those turbulent waves, even though the storm has passed.
So somatic experiencing helps you reconnect with your body.
It does.
To notice those sensations without judgment and to develop a sense of safety and agency.
It's like learning to listen to your body's signals and respond in a way that promotes healing rather than repeating those old cycles of fear and reactivity.
It's about becoming aware of those subtle cues. You know, the tightness in your chest, the shallowness of your breath, and learning to respond with kindness and compassion.
Absolutely.
And then there's neurofeedback.
Oh, yes.
Which sounds like something straight out of science fiction.
It might sound futuristic.
It does.
So it's actually a pretty straightforward approach.
Okay.
Neurofeedback involves giving you real-time feedback about your brainwave activity.
So it's like holding up a mirror to your brain.
It is. It helps you become aware of those unconscious patterns and learn to consciously regulate your brain states.
I was really touched by Lisa's story.
What resonated with you about her story?
She had experienced such severe neglect and abuse, and neurofeedback allowed her to access a sense of calm and presence that had been missing for most of her life.
It's amazing to think about the brain's ability to heal and rewire itself, even after such profound trauma.
So Lisa's story shows the potential of neurofeedback to address that deep-seated neurological dysregulation that often results from trauma.
It's not a magic bullet.
Right.
But it offers a powerful tool for creating lasting change.
It feels like we're moving beyond the limitations of traditional, diagnoses and treatments, embracing a more holistic view.
That's exactly what the Body Keeps the Score is calling for.
Okay.
It challenges us to think beyond just symptoms and labels, to see the person behind the diagnosis, and to recognize that healing isn't just about fixing what's broken. It's about uncovering the resilience and the potential that exists within each of us.
All this talk about embodied healing makes me think about the role of creativity. The book highlights the power of artistic expression.
It does.
Especially theater as a way to process and heal from trauma.
Theater creates this incredible space for exploring those difficult emotions in a safe and structured environment.
I loved the story about those Vietnam War veterans participating in the theater program.
What did you find so compelling about that story?
They found that they could finally articulate their experiences and emotions through the words and actions of the characters they were portraying.
So it was like the theater gave them a voice they didn't know they had.
It's such a powerful reminder that healing isn't just about talking about our trauma. It's about finding ways to express it.
Exactly.
To channel it into something creative and meaningful.
And it's not just about theater.
Right.
The book also talks about the importance of play and movement.
Like what?
Even something as simple as dancing or stretching can help us reconnect with our bodies and access those feelings of joy and spontaneity that might have been lost along the way.
Think about it.
Yeah.
When was the last time you let yourself truly play? To move your body freely without judgment.
Play and movement are essential for regulating our nervous systems and restoring a sense of vitality.
It's like giving ourselves permission.
It is.
To be fully alive in our bodies to experience pleasure and connection without the weight of the past holding us back.
Those moments of embodied joy can be incredibly healing. They remind us that we're not defined by our trauma, that we have the capacity to experience pleasure, lightness, and connection.
Like reclaiming those parts of ourselves that might have been shut down or buried.
And speaking of connection, let's talk about the importance of social support and community in healing from trauma.
We're not meant to go through this alone.
We're not.
I was so moved by the story of the South African Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
What about that story resonated with you?
It demonstrated the power of collective healing and forgiveness on such a massive scale.
Absolutely. It was such a powerful example of how we can come together as a community to support one another, to seek justice, and to create a more compassionate and equitable future.
As we go deeper into this book, it's becoming clear that it's not just about individual healing.
It's about something bigger.
It's about addressing those bigger societal factors that contribute to trauma in the first place.
The Body Keeps the Score challenges us to look beyond individual pathology and consider those systemic issues.
Like what?
Poverty, discrimination, violence. That create the conditions for trauma to flourish.
It's like recognizing that we're all interconnected.
We are.
That healing requires not just individual therapy, but also social and political change.
Absolutely. It's about creating a world where everyone feels safe, supported, and empowered to heal.
So far, this deep dive has been a real eye-opener.
What have you learned?
It's given me a whole new perspective on trauma, healing, and the interconnectedness of our experiences.
The Body Keeps the Score offers a comprehensive and compassionate roadmap for navigating this complex terrain.
It's a book that stays with you.
It is.
It's inviting you to continue exploring these ideas.
Absolutely.
And to find your own path to healing and wholeness.
We've covered so much ground already. From the neurobiology of trauma to the power of therapy, creativity, and community. And as we move into the final part of our deep dive, we'll explore some of the key takeaways from the book and discuss how we can apply these insights to our own lives and our work in the world. But first, let's take a moment to reflect on everything we've learned so far.
It's a lot to take in.
It is.
But I'm feeling so grateful for the opportunity to explore these ideas with you. It's like a light bulb has gone off.
I love that.
Illuminating those hidden corners of myself and the world around me.
And that's just the beginning.
Wow.
The more we learn about trauma, the more we realize how much potential there is for healing, growth, and transformation.
I don't know about you, but I'm still processing everything we've covered in this deep dive into The Body Keeps the Score.
It is.
It feels like we've been handed like a whole new language for understanding not just trauma, but like the human experience itself.
It's like Van der Kolk is giving us a new set of lenses to see the world through, you know?
To recognize those profound ways that our past experiences shape us.
Absolutely.
One of the most powerful quotes from the book that keeps coming back to me is, "What cannot be communicated to the mother cannot be communicated to the self."
That's a powerful one.
It really highlights how important those early relationships are.
It does.
And the need to feel safe and understood.
Especially in those formative years.
Yeah.
That quote really speaks to the heart of attachment theory.
Yeah.
When children don't have that secure base, you know, that attuned caregiver who can help them make sense of their emotions.
Right.
They often internalize this feeling of being wrong or unworthy.
And those early experiences can have like a ripple effect.
They do.
Throughout their lives.
Influencing their relationships, their self-esteem, even their physical health.
It's like those early wounds can become these hidden blueprints that shape how we navigate the world.
It makes you realize how crucial it is to create environments where children feel safe, seen and supported.
So they can develop that secure foundation for emotional well-being.
Exactly.
But it's not just about childhood. The book also highlights how societal factors can contribute to and perpetuate trauma.
They do.
Take the way we treat veterans, for example.
It's a prime example.
They come back from war having experienced unimaginable things.
Right.
But we often expect them to just suck it up and move on.
There's often this disconnect between the magnitude of their experiences and the support they receive.
It's like we're sending the message that vulnerability is weakness.
Right, and that seeking help is a sign of failure.
And that attitude can be incredibly damaging.
It can.
Not just for veterans.
For anyone who's experienced trauma.
Yeah. It reinforces that idea that they need to keep their pain hidden, and that they're somehow broken or flawed.
We need to create a culture where it's safe to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
To reach out for support.
To acknowledge that impact of trauma.
Exactly.
Speaking of culture,
yeah,
the book offers a pretty scathing critique of the current mental health system.
What does he say about it?
Arguing that it's often too focused on diagnosing and medicating, rather than addressing like the root causes of suffering.
So van der Kolk is really challenging the over-reliance on medication, suggesting that it can sometimes mask the symptoms without truly healing the wounds.
So he's advocating for a more holistic approach that integrates therapy, body-based practices, and social support.
It's about treating the whole person.
Yeah, not just the diagnosis.
Exactly.
He also points out the limitations of traditional talk therapy.
In what way?
Suggesting that it can sometimes re-traumatize people by forcing them to relive their experiences.
Without adequate support.
Right, without adequate resources.
That's why it's so important to seek out trauma-informed therapists who understand the complexities of trauma and can create a safe and supportive environment.
So it's not just about talking about the trauma. It's about processing it in a way that feels empowering and transformative.
One of the themes that really resonated with me was the importance of finding our voice.
What do you mean by that?
It's about reclaiming our stories, speaking our truth, and connecting with others who understand our experiences.
Finding our voice can be such a powerful act of healing.
Absolutely.
It allows us to break the silence, to challenge the shame, to reclaim our agency.
And when we share our stories with others who've been through similar experiences,
it creates this incredible sense of
connection and connection.
Reminding each other that we're not alone, that our experiences matter.
And that we have the power to heal.
And move forward.
Alongside finding our voice, van der Kolk also emphasizes the importance of mindfulness in trauma recovery.
So what's that about?
It's about learning to be present in the moment. To notice our thoughts and sensations without judgment, and to cultivate a sense of inner peace and acceptance.
Like creating a space of stillness within ourselves.
Exactly.
Where we can observe those difficult emotions without being swept away by them.
Mindfulness practices like meditation or yoga can be incredibly helpful.
I can see that.
For regulating our nervous systems, calming our minds, and reconnecting with our bodies.
It's like building a refuge within ourselves.
It is.
A place where we can find peace amidst the storm.
This deep dive into the body keeps the score. Has been such a profound journey.
It really has.
It's given us so much to think about, so much to explore.
It's a book that invites us to rethink our assumptions.
About trauma.
About healing.
And the very nature of what it means to be human.
It's a call for a revolution in how we understand.
And address trauma.
Both individually and collectively.
It's a reminder that healing is possible.
I agree.
That resilience is within our reach. And that we have the power to create a world where trauma is no longer a source of shame or silence.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope it's inspired you to learn more about trauma.
To seek out resources that can support your own healing journey.
And to join us in creating a more compassionate
and trauma-informed world.
Remember, you are not alone.
There is help available.
And there is always hope